Ticket can be more expensive than we think. We have a new reality check on just how much it could impact your insurance and for how long. And would you trust a bottle of wine that is made in a lab? We're checking out a process that can make some pretty convincing copies of the premium stuff, and you can get it for way less. And look, not all cats are cut out to be pets, but now some of them are getting a unique job outside of the animal shelter. And ahead here on The Now, the important work that they're doing for business owners.
A lot to get to. Thanks, Chris. You're watching The Now Indy on RTV6. I'm Amanda Starantino. The 4th of July holiday means fireworks, fireworks, and more fireworks. And this can be terrifying for the four-legged friends in your family, especially your dogs. And if your pet is scared enough by fireworks going off, they may run off to get away from that sound. So you want to make sure your dog or cat cannot escape your yard or home.
So right now, it's extremely stressful for animals because fireworks are pretty much going off all month. We like to keep animals inside as much as possible at night, just so that they're not getting loose or anything. One of the most important things that we're stressing is that you have your pets microchipped, and that their microchips are up to date. So you can check with your provider whether or not they're up to date, make sure your address is right and your phone number is right. So if your pet does get loose, someone's able to contact you and get them back to you safely.
And another thing to remember, keep the atmosphere in your home okay for your pet. You may want to dim lighting and play music to drown out the firework noise. Just make sure your home is a safe space for your pet. Also, your dog may feel safe by wearing a thunder shirt, and treats, I mean, come on, treats can always work to calm down your pets too. Well, 2 days away from the 4th of July, and AAA is tracking record-breaking travel numbers. About 49 million people will be traveling, and most of them will be going by car. AAA is expecting 41 million Americans to drive, and the agency says that would be a record. Tomorrow is supposed to be the busiest of the week on the road, so it will be the worst day to be behind the wheel. The good news is when you return home or drive around Indy this weekend, there will be no interstate construction to cause you any trouble there. Kyle.
That makes the 4th all that much more enjoyable, doesn't it? No road construction. And you can see there on Monument Circle, we're in good shape this afternoon. Yeah, it is a toasty one once again. We've got some downpours. The closest one to downtown in southern Hamilton County. We'll take you on a bit of a radar tour right now. Take you up into White County first. Some thunderstorms going around Monon. These are moving to the east. Nothing that's severe out there. Again, it's going to be some heavy rainfall, possibly some gusty winds, and that lightning that's the main issue. Had some damage around the Muncie area at some apartments there, and we've got another thunderstorm that's moving through, another one in Newcastle. All of these are tracking to the east, and there you can see around Carmel, one little downpour, and also on the east side of Indy along I-70 moving toward Greenfield. A couple more of these just popping up with the heat of the afternoon in portions of Jackson County and also into Putnam County. Right now, those temperatures, yeah, they're still in the 90s. 92 in Indy, 94 in Kokomo. We'll talk about how hot it will be tomorrow in a few minutes. Chris?
Today, we're getting a warning about scams before they even happen. This newest scam is disguised as a message from the government, and Jace Larson's here with the information you need to know.
Hey, Chris, the Federal Trade Commission believes that we're about to see even more scams this 4th of July. And these scams are likely to follow a trend that we've been seeing a lot lately. Most complaints to the FTC have been about con artists who pretend to be with the government. Some might pretend to be with the Social Security Administration, others with the IRS. Usually, victims are told that their Social Security number has been suspended or that they owe taxes and they're going to be arrested if they don't pay. Well, the FTC says, first of all, Social Security numbers never get suspended. Second, if they're asking you to pay with a gift card, that is a dead giveaway that it's a scam. And here's a few other things to note. You don't want to trust the caller ID. Phone numbers can be faked these days. So just because a phone call appears to be from a government agency does not mean that it actually is. Also, as I mentioned, never pay with a gift card because once you do, that money is gone. And if you're suspicious of a call, hang up. Then go look up the number to that government agency and call them back. That way you can confirm that they're actually trying to reach you.
All right, good information, Jace. Thank you. And generic drugs may cost seniors more than actual brand name drugs. A new study from Health Affairs shows that this is affecting people who are signed up for Medicare. Researchers say generics end up with a higher price because brand name companies pay for the coverage gap in the pricing system. Generics don't do that. The study found that patients who are taking the most expensive drugs would save more by using brand names. Let's turn to a recall that starts our Now newsfeed. Listeria concerns forcing packaged veggies to be pulled back. Some of the products are from Green Giant, Trader Joe's, and Signature Farms. The manufacturer recalling the product says the veggies have a best buy date of June 26th and 29th of this year. House Democrats are suing the Trump administration for the president's tax returns. The IRS and Treasury Department have denied Democrats' attempts so far. The Trump administration is dismissing attempts to get those returns as a political stunt. Several companies are urging the Supreme Court to rule that federal law protects transgender and gay workers from discrimination. Now, the Supreme Court is expected to hear cases, including one brought by a transgender woman who was fired from her job when she told her boss that she planned to go through gender transition. Well, let's get back to our lineup. And the price of a traffic ticket, well, it can be higher than we think. We have a new reality check on just how much it could impact your insurance and for how long.
With all the details.
Welcome back to the Now Indy on RTV6. South Bend Mayor and Democratic presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg says South Bend will start a process that will examine the city police department's use of force and other policies after the fatal shooting of a black man by a white officer. Buttigieg also says he has invited the Justice Department to have a dialogue about any ways they can be helpful to the community. The presidential candidate is also making it clear the community will have chances to weigh in on that matter. Buttigieg has been criticized by some in the city following Eric Logan's June 16th death. Police have said the 54-year-old Logan was armed with a knife when he approached Sergeant Ryan O'Neill, who shot him. O'Neill is on paid administrative leave.
A lot of people hitting the road for the 4th of July, so you can expect more crashes and more law enforcement patrolling. Now, not only is your safety at risk, your money is as well. So we're going to bring in Andy Taylor to break this down.
Tickets for crashes and other violations alone, they're expensive. And then your car insurance typically goes up after that, too. Auto policy comparison website, thezebra.com, found on average the most serious violations can cause your next insurance policy to go up between $300 and $1,200. And we're talking DUI, at-fault crashes, and speeding tickets. It's not just major incidences, though. Insurance companies also raise your rates for seemingly innocent tickets. Maybe it's driving too slow or failing to yield, and distracted driving can raise your rates by hundreds. Even not wearing your seatbelt can. Those rate increases can last for 3 years. No matter your driving habits, it can pay to shop a third-party vendor for a cheaper auto insurance.
I think people get a little bit comfortable with car insurance. It's not something that they want to deal with. They don't want to have to go and, search for car insurance companies, compare a bunch of different policies, call up different agents all the time. And they don't really know that there are services out there that do all of this for them.
A lapse in car insurance coverage also leads to higher rates. Another thing to consider is this vehicle. It's the vehicle itself. Some vehicles get into more accidents and have higher payouts for each accident. So it's not always luxury and sports cars that cost more to insure. Several hybrid cars like Kia, Hyundai, and Nissan models all made the top 25 list of most expensive cars for insurance, according to 24/7 Wall Street. Now, the Mitsubishi Lancer, a car that cost less than 20 grand, was the fourth most expensive car to insure, only behind the Tesla and Mercedes. A lot of crossover vehicles were among the top 25 least expensive models to insure, including several Subaru and Honda models. Some small and full-size trucks were also on the cheaper side for insurance.
All right, Annie, thank you. It's still ahead in our lineup here on the Now. We're going to take you where wine is being made in a lab, not a vineyard, and how it's creating premium varieties at half the price.
Only on RTV6 News.
Let's start the newsfeed. The amount of ice circling Antarctica is hitting record lows. This comes after it just hit a record high in 2014. But since then, the amount has plunged, and scientists don't really know why. They aren't really sure if this is because of a long-term impact from global warming. Right here, not exactly the kind of fried seafood that you're looking for. California, it is so hot that seafood is actually cooking on its own. A researcher north of San Francisco took this picture of mussels frying to death. They say tens of thousands of dead mussels cooked in their shells. Well, Game of Thrones, of course, is over, but some fans are making sure that the series lives on in other ways. An Australian scientist named a new species of bee fly, the Paramonovius Night King, as a tribute to the villain in the HBO show. Well, the way that we date is changing, and it is making for some, let's just say, awkward situations. Andy Taylor's here looking at these new trends.
New research published in the journal Social, Psychological, and Personality Science shows that nearly a third of women have gone out on a date for the sole purpose of just getting a free dinner. Availability has nothing to do with it, and some of the women polled were actually married or even in a committed relationship at the time. And etiquette experts are revealing that people are also now charging each other for their part of the date. This usually happens after the date and without the two parties agreeing on who should pay for what. Obviously, not the most comfortable situation when you get that Venmo notification.
A male is sending a female a Venmo request after a date. Clearly, they're not going on a second date. I would be really shocked. Second of all, that is taking the date to a completely transactional feeling, and there is no connection or romance.
Well, if the price of a date is too much, there's your first problem. Our dating coach says start off with more casual, less expensive dates, like going for a cup of coffee or maybe just a glass of wine. And if things go well and you continue dating this person, that's where the dynamic changes. That doesn't mean you can charge each other for the date, but the other person can start taking care of dinner or grab some movie tickets without the debate of who should pay for what.
That is always the debate, but I can't imagine sending a Venmo request is the smoothest move.
No, I'd deny you if you did that to me.
Yeah, no, if I send just don't do it. Don't send a Venmo request. No. All right, Annie, thank you.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. And it seems to happen all the time. We're giving someone money. Maybe we need to pay our friends or family back for something, or maybe we're giving cash as part of a birthday gift. Instead of writing checks or handing over cash, millions of people are now turning to personal transfer services like Venmo or Zelle. But which is best to use? Working for you, John Matarese compares the big three services so you don't waste your money.
When it comes time to pitching in on a restaurant tab or sending $20 to a friend, cash is no longer king, at least with the younger crowd. Mobile payments are everything now, but which service is best? Splitting the bill, paying with hard cash is so yesterday. Now millions of people pay with Venmo, Zelle, or the Cash App. But Money Magazine says there are differences. Venmo, owned by PayPal, was the first, appeals to younger people, and is so popular that Venmoing is now a verb. Zelle, owned by a group of banks, draws an older crowd. It's built into many banking apps, so for many people it's easier to use, and it puts money in your account instantly. The Cash App, owned by Square, is easier to use in coffee shops, in restaurants, or any business that uses Square. But from the Doesn't That Stink file, one downside of Venmo, it's like a social network in that you can see what your friends are doing and who's sending money to whom. If they're all having a great time out and you weren't invited, you may say, doesn't that stink? Like your privacy? You may want to choose Zelle or the Cash App. Of course, old-fashioned cash always works, so if everyone you're with is Venmoing it, you might feel out of place. As always, don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese for RTV6.
All right, let's take you back outside now. We're looking north over downtown Indianapolis, and you can see some of those building clouds and resulting in some downpours there. Parts of Hamilton County. We'll take you to radar here in just a second. Right now, yeah, it's the heat of the afternoon that's driving a lot of those downpours. 92 degrees in downtown Indianapolis, 90 in Bloomington. Muncie, you're rebounding after being in the 70s with that downpour. You're now back to 81 degrees with more rain moving through. Here's a check of White County around Monon and 421. You got one downpour here. This is moving to the east, and we got a lot of these just kind of flaring up. Should stay below severe limits here, but could have some more gusty winds, especially on the south side of Muncie and east of Newcastle. Now moving north of Richmond. We've got another downpour for you into Putnam County. That one's lifting to the northeast. Looks like the shower moving into Monroe County, falling apart. Tonight, 72 degrees. Those thunderstorms will come to an end with sunset, and then tomorrow we start off dry. We'll build in that chance for a few more storms into the afternoon. Once again, as this pattern continues, with temperatures warming well into the 80s, a couple of areas may hit 90 tomorrow afternoon for the 5th day in a row. 86 for you in Bloomington and Noblesville, 87 in Kokomo tomorrow afternoon. When are we going to kind of break this muggy pattern? Well, it looks like as we go into the weekend, we start to see that coming down a little bit. Before we get there, your holiday weekend may be starting off on Thursday with the 4th of July for fireworks there. A chance for a shower or storm. I'd say right now the rain chances at that point are about 30% with temperatures around 80 degrees. Next few days of your forecast, though, we've got scattered thunderstorms, so the rain chances do increase a little bit Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Chris?
Many children are missing an important life lesson, and it's how to be money smart. Creditcards.com found 1 in 4 people surveyed say their parents didn't teach them anything about money. Some 40% of kids are getting an allowance, which financial experts say is a great opportunity to help them build healthy financial habits. A few years ago, Nicholas Hartford and his family were struggling financially, so he educated himself on finances and set his family up on a budget, which includes their 10-year-old son. Now, once a month, they review the budget together as a family.
What I do is I account for every dollar, and then after the bills are paid and we pay ourselves 10% to put into savings, the rest of it's kind of like we can, after our allowances and everything, that's budgeted, then we can kind of just decide as a family what we want to do.
Now, there are several resources out there to help teach kids about money, even Elmo stressing the importance of how money works. Sesame Street has an online toolkit. Money expert Dave Ramsey says you want to have your child use a clear jar instead of a piggy bank for money. That way they can watch their savings grow. And he also says don't give allowance, give commission. The more they do, the more money they get. And teach them the importance of giving to charity, as well as the importance of how to use a bank account, and make sure they learn the dangers of credit card and student loan debt. Now, being content, that is also important, not letting outside pressure like social media influence get to you. Well, fentanyl knockoffs could soon hit the market, and that tops our news feed. A ban on those kinds of products runs out next February. Now the DOJ is calling on Congress to take action to keep those kinds of dangerous drugs off the streets. Federal authorities are warning about counterfeit e-cigarettes. They can be found at some convenience stores. Some do look like flavored Juuls, but Juul doesn't make flavored e-cigs anymore, and many of them come from China, and Customs says there's just no way you can verify what's actually in them. Here's some video that will make your heart skip a beat. Watch this. You see a small boy trying to get onto a train in Australia. He actually falls between the train and the platform. Scary moments, but someone was able to pull that boy to safety, and he is okay. But finding a great bottle of wine for a reasonable price, that can be tricky. Now one company is using 21st century technology to create knockoff wines that it claims are just as great tasting with more affordable costs. Annie Taylor with this story.
Shopping for wine is very intimidating.
Searching for a great bottle of wine for an even better price can be tricky.
American consumers pay more for their wine than consumers anywhere else in the world.
It's a billion-dollar industry for a reason. And Ari Walker with IBG Wines believes originality means overpriced. So his team created Replica Wine. With the help of science, they create the exact flavor of your favorite California wines, but for half the price.
We take some of the guesswork out of it by giving them a concrete basis to work off of.
That's Dr. Sean Callan. He's tested thousands of top-selling wines in his lab, extracting their flavor profiles and creating a roadmap for IBG winemakers to replicate top name brand wines.
They're making wine with the exact same techniques they always have. They're just doing it with 21st century technology, helping them make the right decisions all the way through.
Once the flavor roadmaps are made, IBG winemakers in California and Oregon use traditional winemaking techniques to produce a wine with a nearly 95% flavor match, and even use a top sommelier to taste the wine's accuracy.
It doesn't necessarily mean that your wine is going to taste better just because it costs more.
But not everyone likes the way Replica is taking the guessing out of the winemaking game. Wine expert Grant Harmson says they're doing nothing wrong.
I don't think they're cheating the system at all. They're playing the game exactly the same way as a lot of other wine companies out there. They're just doing it a little bit differently, and they're being a little bit more open and honest about it.
I'm Annie Taylor reporting.
All right, Annie, thank you. And finally in our lineup, look, not all cats are cut out to be pets, but now some of them are getting a unique job outside the animal shelter. And next here on The Now, we're going to take a look at the important work they're now doing for business owners.